C9 pray to the 9-3 shrine, and they also happen to outperform their opponents, and they walk away with that Pearl victory looking fan-freaking-tastic. I think the Jake and Rooney kids are going to be all right, you know? I think they're pretty solid. But welcome back, everyone. Golden Boy here alongside with Brennan, Mimi, and guys, what a game that was. Because, Mimi, from the beginning, we were like, well, EG should be able to wrap this up. They got cool ideas, and
that was the most
didn't happen.
EG game I've ever seen. They had
look how many rounds they lost in a row.
They had some really cool preset ideas. The Gecko was super creative, and then they absolutely fell apart in the second half. They kept doing the same thing over and over again, and Cloud9 shut them down so well.
They did shut them down, but before we even get into that as well, I did want to highlight some of the things that were being done well by EG when they were running this Gecko as well, because I think it's worth pointing out. They're an easy team to do analyst test segments for because they do love to cook. They had this preset plan. Mosh pit goes to the top. There was a pull over the back of it because they know that Cloud9 take a while to set up for these B hits as well when they're execing. They don't have any pace behind it, and they had just a great util combo. This is another example. They were doing this A main conditioning, and they throw in flashes, pulls as well on top of the dog, and absolutely punish all of it. So Zeltis using his ult as well, just going out and down there as well and winning out these rounds. A lot of the instances as well that this was happening, especially in that first half, it was coming down to those 2v2s that we saw at the end, 2v1s and things. And it was EG just, narrowly leading it out, winning with those fundamentals. But my goodness, did it change when we got into the second half, because it just kind of just started to crumble. It was still similar kind of tales being told in those rounds coming down to those key moments. Yeah. But it was the Cloud9 players who were bringing it over the line.
Yeah. I think it is very frustrating, I'm sure, as an EG fan, to see this team give up so much to Cloud9 when you know what they're capable of, Mimi.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the issues in that second half were that they had this consistent game plan of, okay, we're going to scale space early, get down long, and then once we're close, pop in with the Cove and the Wingman going into plant. But Cloud9 were always shutting this down. Because they have this double flash comp, they're so incredibly willing to just flash through these harbor smokes, pressure forward as EG is going for this execute, and really just catch them in transition. And that happened time and again this half. It was always EG gets close, gets set up for the Cove as well as the Wingman to plant, and then they get spammed down, Zelsis flashes through, and they get shut down completely. And once that started to fail, it felt like EG was just running out of ideas. They took 2 timeouts, and despite that, could not find a solution.
Yeah, I mean, they came close towards the end, but it was just a sheer inability to close out the rounds and close out the map that we're seeing from EG. And it's, listen, we'll touch back onto the previous points that we were talking about before we even got into this series, and it was about that inexperience of EG and how, listen, these next 9 weeks are going to be them shoring that up and being able to, close out these maps, close out the rounds that they should be doing, and yet still the same issues rearing its head there towards the end of that first map.
And yeah, it makes me a little disappointed in EG as well, because I think they could have seen some of these reactions from Cloud9 coming. This is how they played at Lock-In with this double flash comp. It was wait for your opponent to start executing, flash through, take that early fight. It was successful there. It was successful here again. Not to discredit Cloud9, but I was really disappointed in that second half from EG.
Yeah, very frustrating for EG fans everywhere, but of course for Cloud9 fans. And, I think a lot of people are very enthusiastic about this because that actually takes us to our Aim Lab shoot-around, because we are going to be following, I believe it's going to be Jake, right, for the Aim Lab shoot-around. But let's talk about these guys, because they have been just so impressive throughout and have really helped out C9. Like, they fit right in the middle with the team, and they feel like they fit like a glove.
Yeah, I think as well it's attributed to that kind of play style that we were talking about, where Cloud9 are not scared to play that double flash comp, fast retakes. There's no hesitancy there, and everybody kind of knows the game plan. They know that as soon as EG end up using some util, they're going to flash, they're going to fight over it, and so if everybody's on that same game plan, it doesn't really require too much preparation time. But it seems like these new guys, like Jake and Rooney, have just slotted into this C9 structure relatively well. It was pretty noticeable as well, because Cloud9, they used both of their timeouts before even the first half was over, which I think is a bit indicative.
Before round 7 at that.
Yeah, I think that's indicative of the fact that Cloud9 maybe were having a bit of nerves issues with the newer players, maybe just trying to get them adjusted to that big stage. And listen, it didn't exactly work out how they anticipated, because it was 9-3 at that half, but they managed to turn it around, and the players were putting up some consistently good performances.
Yeah, curious, if Cloud9 wins the series, if we can actually get, some confirmation of what that plan was from Smix in the Verizon post-match interview. But I did say, Jake, kind of trolled. It's time, though, for our Aim Lab shoot-around. We're actually going to be checking in with EG's Jogamo. That's right. So, Jogamo Geronimo here, he was actually the bright spot for EG, I would go as far as to say. Every single time they needed to get 2 kills from him, the man was good with the output.
Yeah, this comp was really interesting because it asked this guy who's always been the dive duelist player for EG to switch on over and play the Harbor. And it was super successful in the first half, obviously not so much towards that second. But I think he's going to be a really important player as we go towards the rest of this series, because my expectation is that that composition was just an idea for Pearl, and they'll put him back on the Jet or the Raze for the rest of the maps. I could be incorrect in that, but that's kind of what I hope, because he provides so much value for this squad on that dive role.
Yeah, I mean, he really does. He's that heavy hitter for them alongside players like Boostio as well, when they were really just putting themselves at the forefront, I think, for most of the compositions that they play. And you're right, he had to take a bit of a back seat when you are playing that Harbor. You're usually going to be like one of the last players in, typically. It depends how you want to play this one, but if you're playing it optimally, I feel like you're going to be trading off a lot of your teammates and being the last one alive, whereas a player like, Boostio, I feel like, or Jogamo, I should say, he wants to be in there, he wants to be
in the trenches,
taking names, that's the kind of player he is.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jake earlier. He's already warm enough, it would appear, after getting used to things in that first match. But I thought that both these new players played really well. Once I got into that second half, it feels like the groove was starting to hit for Cloud9. Not just for them, because they were actually playing solid in the first half, but for the rest of this squad as well. Once we got to the second half, Zeppa and Leaf really came online and showed us, I think, that star performance that we saw from them at Lock-In. It really was an echo of those guys. But for the new players as well, it looked comfortable. And that's really all I could hope for with the amount of time they've had to
and consider this, right? You had just noted, Zeppa and Leaf, quiet in the first half, activated in the second half, and then you're like, well, where are you getting that value out of? And you end up getting it from the 2 guys you signed just like a week ago, and they're doing it. They're very impressive. But I also do think, though, to an extent, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Brent, but I feel like this also is a bit of a, not to like disparage anyone, but a comparable matchup, I guess, for Jake and Rooney, because it's one thing if like Cloud9 were coming out of the gate and then playing loud, that's a different type of situation.
Different level of competition.
Yeah, or even NRG, right? But versus EG, there is that
it's a nice little litmus test, though.
Exactly.
Right, because EG, I think, are a team that's going to be punching for that kind of mid-table heading into the Americas, and potentially higher as well. They've got some really, really, capable players on that team. But I think out of all the first-round matchups you could hope for, it's not a bad one as well to really just, get your feet wet a little bit and make sure that you're comfortable on the stage and in the team environment.
And it's kind of a flip-flop of expectations, because normally when we watch EG play at like these kind of higher level events, we're like, okay, EG's kind of the underdog, we're waiting for their moment to pop up. But here we came in and I think actually favored this squad.
Oh yeah, we were big on them.
Because they had that a little bit more experience than the 2 new players that Cloud9 is bringing in. And them losing out here, it makes me worried that EG is going to keep falling into this same kind of trap of getting up, having good ideas, and then letting it slip.
I don't think anyone would have put, the smart money was always going to be on EG, right? But now here we are in a different world, and we're going into Fracture. Out of the gate already, you're seeing the brims on each side as our agents select here. Let's see what we end up getting for Fracture. If we get some uniqueness, Brent.
Yeah, it seems like teams, at least from the preview that I've seen with the brim and the breach, they might just be going for a pretty easy to execute comp on either side, like the standard, trying to play for the post-plant utility. You've got the brim out, you've got the breach shot, you've got the after shot, you've got the brim molly, everything to try and push that off. But I'm going to be paying, I think, a close attention to Cloud9's attack side as we head into Fracture, because that kind of calling, I think, was let slip a little bit. The attack side calling can be really difficult for a player like Rooney as a new IGL to come into, and I think Fracture will be a big test for that as well on top of it, because it really does test your ability to, get a whole team on the same page with the coordination.
Yeah, this is comfort rules for Jake and Rooney. The flash initiator for Rooney, Jake over on that Brimstone. But Jojimo on the other side does go back to his Raze, which is something that I was really hoping for. And
that's interesting.
Locks in the Sova. That is quite unusual on this map. I think most teams don't play this because generally the pace of the executes on your attacking side can outpace that drone. And it's hard to find the same value versus most teams who will play the double initiator with either a KO, sometimes a fade in the mix. So I'm interested to see what they have prepared.
I feel like coming out of this game, we're either going to be like, hey, that Sova pick, pretty solid, or maybe not.
Zeppa picking the Raze as well for them is really interesting, I have to say. I mean, it's not a role that we typically would associate with him.
And mean, he played it in the past. It's been a while, but he was always a good Raze player, and they have done this in the past where they flex him into that primary duelist role. But what I'm looking towards in this first half on the attacking side is how this team of Cloud9 is going to play around their ultimates. Because on Pearl, they did a really good job of like kind of min-maxing the ult orbs in the plants to constantly have ults online for their executes. I think they could do that again here on Fracture to great success.
Well, let's go ahead and find out if this one can get to a third map, and we're going to send it back over to the one and only Irvington and Van Silly for the call.
Thank you, GB, Mimi, and Brenny. We're moving into this game on Fracture, and looks like we're really turning back time here for C9's composition, right, Riv?
It does. We're going back in history here, seeing what C9's pulling out. Obviously, looking at a few of the members they played way back in the day. We get this Raze back, and we're like, wait, how long do we have to think back? And then Zelsis on the Killjoy. We go back to version 1. Like, they know what they're doing. We'll see if it's like riding a bike, though, or road gets a little bumpy on the way in. I know that's what EG is hoping for, and probably shocked at that last game, but you can't think about it. You got to think forward, got to think ahead. We get on to Fracture now, and we will focus, as Des said, on how the ultimates are worked, how much focus goes to these orbs, and how this Silver works, how calm it's going to make it. You know, the drone plays. Oh,
it works for this. The drone to fight info and the pitch back into the spawn. Oh, C9 falling like a deck of cards, and it's only Zelsis. Was looking for that lurk, did get it, but hey, surprise, there's nobody there.
I was like, okay, we'll keep cast. I'll keep talking. There's no fight. Okay, take it, Vans, like that. The unexpected, I think, is what exactly how you need to start here for EG. Figure out how that Sova is used right away. The push forward from both sides, and now they own the south side of the map. They're just waiting to figure out where Boostio is. Or no, sorry, it's not Boostio. Zelsis, as he makes use of every bit of space, finding some orbs.
EG is definitely okay with just running that clock down, and Zelsis doing the same thing. Just continuing what happened towards Pearl. Let me just marathon around the map, grab a couple of orbs, already got 2 under his name, and trying to see if he could do at least a little bit of damage, but coming down towards this B-long at tree. It's going to get spotted by the turret.
30 seconds
Bad news
left.
there as far as Zelsis. It's the inches down. Good luck, have fun. Fault line then coming out. The push in. Jogimo's low HP. I like it. We actually do have the players that have more HP that wants to come out for the fight before, so that's really great. Patience play by EG. Another pistol round coming in.
Flawless as well. Now they prevent the thrifty, right? Cloud9's gonna see what they can do. What's to buy? A few sheriffs there. A few of the people that did get kills will find a bit of extra money in their pocket. But this south side push, absolutely incredible. And a great read by EG, right? They're wrong. They still have a lot of utility to retake on whatever north side is. But on pistol round, you're more than likely going to find a few members down on that bottom, and they indeed did. Second round here, a quick dart.
Scanning ahead.
So that clears back towards Satellite if they're going to start. Nice range, too. You might get a few floaters over towards Arcade. So we kind of see the initial play of what Com wants to do, and he plays in between each of the sites and spawn there to lean on either side.
You bring a great point, actually. We wanted to talk about why this Sova, what's the question mark around here? And the kit seems to be trying to act if there's going to be like that type of default of the Killjoy or sometimes like a Cypher holding towards one extremity with their utility, take the ropes on the other end. So that allows for you not to need to push and pinch right away. And the Allen Drone's just a replacement of the Prowlers towards San into A main. So the kit looks good. I want to know what we could do with the ultimate once we get into those later rounds. Zeppa still somehow gets behind enemy lines. It opens things up here for C9 and an opportunity even for Cloud9 to get a plant.
Not again, Vance. The thrifty again. It's on the plate here for Cloud9. It's blood in the water, and it looks like they're going to re-hit. They have yoinked all of Evil Geniuses over to this B site, and the rotation's going to be coming in. A quick trade and spawn.
Still got a dink onto Jake. As the rotation goes towards the A, same thing for EG, and the call comes out from Rooney to run back towards this B site. But the lurk comes through just around the corner. Ethan, wrong angle play style. Full line coming through. Zelsis trying to chase in for the kill, and Ethan stays alive with minimal damage done. Plant then comes in for Cloud9 with 10 seconds left. Full util coming out for EG. Trying to clear out towards the arcade. 2 players flanking out towards the top as well. And that's BCJ and Calm working together. Another recon dart available for the retake. Gonna be the turret spotting one first. Here towards the back of the boxes. It's still gonna be Celsius dancing around. And now on the jump. The save from behind, the pain shells to flush out BCJ. Gets that headshot as well. It's a 1v1, has to reload the weapon as the aftershock comes out. Position given away by Rooney. But Rooney's been a beast, always with the Sheriff's on pistol. Fault line, picks up the Phantom, then gets the kill. A 3rd round for C9 to answer back and tie the game.
They do it again! You have to be kidding me right now. And what a well-orchestrated round. They almost win the round without even seeing more than one member of Evil Geniuses until the post plant. How do you do that? With EG holding the hard angles, they just got them back and forth across the map. Beautiful mid-round calling on the side of Cloud9 here, on side of Cloud9 there. And Rooney again capitalizes on a huge round. Left up to Rooney. He's been showing up.
Oh, yeah. That's something that he's done a lot during his C9 days. Piss around when he's playing that Silva. Doesn't matter for the shock darts. It's just Sheriff and free util. This time, Rooney, Sheriff and fault line, and then gets it done here with the rest of C9. But big props to Zeppa to somehow get behind those enemy lines to start things off and kick in the thrifty for C9. And relentless into this one. Satchel to clear it up. A gamble stack, a gamble push from EG. That fails, and it's going to be a 5-player looking for exits on Evil Genius' side.
Zeppa stays in sight. Rest of the team's ready to fire on from the outside of that A-long area, or A-halls rather. With 2 mollies set, smokes go down. Not ready just yet. EG's really taking their time here. They're going to have to collapse fast.
Gonna be good enough here. Zeppa just stays in, building up the orbs here on these kills. The 3rd one now activates the showstopper into the following rounds. Doesn't even need any help. And Rooney ruins the moment for the ace for Zeppa.
They think they're so
EG over there like, somebody just peek our classics, please, for a moment. No, not until you get into range of Zeppa, and then he starts cleaning up along with Rooney. So a quick round there for C9. Shouldn't have been much damage, and they didn't take much either. But we will get on to this rifle round. We'll see how EG does go to set up their defense. We have Boostio moving over towards the A site. Looks like he puts that turret high, so we'll see a bit of sight and a bit of what comes into the sand area.
Okay.
And again, like you said, looking for the defaults, the initial setup, right? You can sometimes get that with the KO and the knife, but they're going to be using the Sova this time.
Bomb buddy out.
Nice little denied dart, too. It's dropped fired into the tree, and no one can find it.
Taking control of the tree. Lockdown available for Celsius. Backed up by his teammates. It's going to be an attempt for a B plant. Owl drone to clear out towards the bottom from the top of the B site. And we're just going to have to fall away whenever we can. Oh, somehow!
Burn down!
That works out, but Calm got detained. Celsius moves in to even up the tally on a 4 versus 4. Spike down, picked up then by Jakey to plant it down. But it gets the 9, who runs right into it! BCJ!
Spike down.
With the orbital strike, drops the spike.
Oh my gosh, so much denial utility, so much stopping each other. We see Celsius there still playing like he's on Phoenix as he rushes spawn for a frag. And they are back to setting up on this post plant on the shoulders of Evil Geniuses.
Still very important on how Celsius is playing. He has an alarm bot being set up here. Should be towards that spawn at the Jenny. So they have all the time in the world to move forward and get the spike for our plant. Maybe saw a sliver of at least one player towards long and lead. Going long range, a 4K into the round. Just tapping away like it's Aim Labs.
1, 2, 3, they all shadow each other as they come out trying to get the trade. Really unfortunate there, but huge by Leaf to understand and get that aim control down. That recoil right into each of his opponents. This start off too did not look good. A lot of that utility disrupted the ultimates that were supposed to be big on this round, or movement for both teams. Leaf doing Leaf things to clutch around. What are you doing? Oh, I'm sure they are trying to figure out as well right now. It just seems like they cannot get a foot down. Maybe a first frag and then conversion for EG, but they're back onto the eco. And Celsius and team are going to wait to see what kind of trickery they put into the mix on the side of EG here.
It's the ace off the sleeve, pressure down towards tree. And even fights happening towards Arcade. Calm wins that long range. On the top of the B site. Good econ to start. Should end here, though. Vandal now picked up, but the backstab's coming in from Zeppa soon. Okay, does a little bit more.
2v1.
Looking back up, but it gets stopped. Zeppa right there waiting for it. Adding even more money off the plant from Jakey. And C9 are up now 4-1.
Cloud9 feeling good on their own map pick. 4 in a row so far. Literally mirroring right now the second half of our last map. Thrifty into win streak. Once they get momentum, it just seems like they are in a groove. Rolling Thunder here as well as Leaf Seekers to come out. They have multiple options to be able to deter or detect where Cloud9 is going to, EG, sorry, is going to be on this round. But they do have to worry about the lockdown. How can they source that lockdown? Operator for Boostio here. And that's going to be picking out B long.
4 players heading out towards A long, and that recon dart also pushes Zelsis away from the ropes from the north side to the south. Rolling Thunder also available for a take. Yes and not misses.
I've got your trail.
The Seekers then coming out on the A site. The lurk will not work out. The Seeker still gives the space here for C9 and plant towards the A site.
Towards heaven.
More space
Towards
gained.
that rope.
Jakey really wants to fight this. I mean, he's used all of his utility, so why the hell not? 3 smokes on the ground. Molly's already up. The Molly makes some noise, so he's playing the off angle on top of the rafters. Flash from the peak. Lines up for the 2, but gets the save from Joggimo here. Speaking about EG.
So
Slowly
much
but
chaos.
surely. Rooney's looking for this save, but it's not going to happen because BCG's behind. Zeppa now left for a clutch situation as he gets greeted by a showstopper. An easier retake thanks to the ultimates that we came out and expended from EG's side. As the answer back for the second on the board.
Taking space there before C9 could, honestly. It's what's the key, I think, at this point. Cloud9's moving so fast. EG got themselves kind of out into sand, figured out what Cloud9 was doing, and didn't give them much more space, right? We saw EG milling, Cloud9 in that sand area for quite a long time. Jake couldn't get anything produced there. And that pause that they had in A-halls and sand gave EG that time to rotate around. So stalling was the key. Taking a little bit of space as well for the side of EG. They did a nice job to contain what Cloud9 wanted, and they stopped that win streak. Round 7, another round where they want to stop Cloud9 right at the beginning. I think it's kind of a tendency to not want the full rush. You stop it, oh my gosh,
No, they want a full rush. They want a full rush. Hunter's Fury out from the spawn and a Rolling Thunder to allow Joggimo to move out. But to only pick off 1 kill, both duelists now down on either end. It's not a stalemate. Nice Aldrone to spot the information onto Jake onto the top. Lurking out here with Zelsis. Ethan just trying to delay as much as he can to get the cavalry, the rotation out from BCJ, who smokes up towards the drop. And this is a chess battle from both of these teams.
Guiding light, fault line, aftershock. So they do have a flash to get in here on the side of Leaf, whether they choose to or not. Rotating all the way to the other side. Zelsis is going to join and make sure there's no flank coming through here. They set up the play. Ethan trying to stall, and again, that's what EG need to do. That's what the pressure is on the C9.
30 seconds
Tried to crossfire first, and window of opportunity to try to get the pick onto drop, but it's still Jake that gets the opening kill. Beautiful flash from Leaf. Calm cannot answer back enough.
Yo.
Spike down A.
We've seen the up before from Boostio on a different agent, this time on a Killjoy. A 2 versus 1 as the spike goes down. Planet for C9. Safely seems inside the site. Looking to play the contact off the alarm bot here. Placed down by Zelsis. It's not going to be an easy task now for Boostio, who's moving up slowly. Alarm bot in the flash. Avoids it. No swing coming through. Bait and switch. And it's still going to be Leaf. Solo play not even needed from Zelsis.
Yeah. They had to give and go if they wanted it. A little trade kill on that, but they take it right back. They say thank you very much. And that actually is one of the tougher things to deal with in Valorant or games with economy like that, is that you win, you get that 3,000. You lose, you get 1,900. You've reset, that's it. So Cloud9 really, really making this tough for Evil Geniuses right now, and we should see another low buy there. We'll see how C9 sets up for the counter. Timeout for EG here, they will call too. So honestly, C9 has figured it out. Celsius has been strong. They're backing each other up on every play, and it's just organization to it. I don't think right? It's not new tech. It's not the way that they're going outside the box. They are being very organized in their play on the side of Cloud9. It's bringing in the W's.
Definitely looks like here for C9's side that they don't need Ye for now. Although missed. C9 doing an incredible job here on their attack. That said, this timeout you mentioned here, Riv, coming out from Potter. They're trying to do these plays of recon dart and pinching, but it's not really working out. But we've seen some nice variations coming out for the Americas on a map like Lotus, on Fracture so far. We're pushing down towards the tree and then just holding it there to play towards the retake. Is this something that EG could maybe try out? Moving in here as we finish the timeout.
They could be. They do have a good team for it. The Sova Dart's going to see through the smokes, right? You can get that counter. You can get that pressure, but it's the follow-up. Can you get behind Jogamo on these retakes? Is that going to be enough power? A really favors, if that's going to be the way they play. Raze Nade can clear a lot more of A than it does when you're trying to retake B. There's just too many spots to hide. So they have to be fluid with each site they're taking here if it is going to be that post-plant retake for EG all the time. A lot towards satellite. They're just going to waterfall off this for the play if they're not playing for a pullback and cut sound.
And that play would just stop from Jogamo on the top there of tree. That's something that's telegraphed already in the past by EG. So going back into the older pages of the strat book, with a hero rifle from Jogamo, not getting any picks there.
Boostio all the way through A halls now. EG giving themselves a little bit more info to work with. I think they're going to stay in a bit of a 4-1 lurk here. Slow delays. I like this from Cloud9 as well. They know it's somewhat of a low buy, so you can't run around the corner and do a shorty. You have to be smart about it. That will, however, push your teammate or the opponents back. Zeppa's just going to go and hold on. They want to secure this round. Knowing it's a low buy still for EG, they're going to go ahead and put this ultimate showstopper in just to deter what's going on. And we still have the team at satellite for Cloud9.
Yeah. With the aftershock, the smokes that came out to delay. C9 understands that it was a gamble stack from EG towards this B site. Hero rifle now trying to bait his teammates so that he could actually open up the site on the A side here. Still wielded by Jogamo. 4-player looking for the flank onto the A halls. Rooney tries to greet them and opens up the door for Ethan and the rest of the crew of EG to move inside the site. Pain shells to the fault line. Zelsis fighting up towards the heavens. We have a flight coming back from the heavens as well. And Pain shells moving into the site. 2v3, rifles picked up. Only one left to go. It's gonna be Calm. Make it expensive. And it will do so. Calm will die to the spike. Still in the end, a round is going to come in favor of C9, and Leaf didn't even want to let that spike go off.
No.
Just wants to go for that kill.
Finds him, hits it. Another round for Cloud9. It's interesting how they're coming together so well. They're guarding each other. It doesn't seem like anything is foreign to them at this point when they're making a play. You know, whether or not EG's trying to set up a particular type of defense, Cloud9 is making Evil Geniuses play reactive to these situations, and I think that's why we're seeing them a step behind here. You have Zeppa coming in, even on the eco rounds with the showstopper. Again, they're going to have Seekers to identify any poor situations they're going to get themselves into. A lot of answers here just across the board, and ultimately winning their firefights on the side of Cloud9. The firepower has been immaculate so far in these trades.
We're playing some passive holds on the quadrants for EG into this round.
Trail.
Seekers then on the attack, and the weakest point that's not being watched, that's not being covered, is towards the bottom A side. And that's exactly where C9 is moving into. Nanoswarms have tried to delay as much as they can, but Zeppa still satchels in. Boostio still lands up
Spike down
with an operator shot, though. That falls Rooney. Trying to stop this all the least. Jake moving in, lining up Tartu.
Yeah.
The spike's about to get planted. Boostio gets a nice little close range onto Zeppa. Aftershock to deny the plant from C9, and it becomes a 2 versus 1 for Zelsis.
He's had these situations in his favor. This series has kind of been in Zelsys' hands for Cloud9 to keep pushing forward, leading the team with those rounds. Can he do it here in the 2v1?
30 seconds left.
Not with
That's
that
the
shot.
operator shot. Boostio says not even a chance. And that op has been paying off big for them when they can get it. Being down in cash is not going to help, so the fact that they can keep it, get some more guns cycled in here, EG really needs to start grabbing these next few rounds, or I feel like it could be a Cloud9 runaway.
Did a good job
Enemy
too
remaining.
here to react
30
onto
seconds
the
left.
spot. It was like a last-second decision to actually break the lockdown with the orbital strike out from BCJ so that we could actually pressure back for EG, allowing Boostio to move forward with this operator and get the picks. Expensive round coming in the defense in round number 10 for EG.
Yep.
Small shields, off shot misses, spotting a lot of players towards the arcade.
EG's trying to take more space. The dart gives satellite control over. They're rotating around already. The 4v4, but do they know there's a flank coming in?
The flanks coming from the arcade. The owl drone, fault line then. Not affected as Zeppa. Aftershock then, and the
they
flank is
know.
spotted by Jake. Great positioning, great awareness, great hold. And even a rolling thunder on the attack, pulse plant to delay. Making it even harder for EG to come back in. Everything that they used to try to come into the site has been denied, so it has to now come down to gunfights. Works out for an entry. Jake falls, a 3v3 rolling thunder available at this point. It's gonna be used towards the spawn. Aftershock then coming from the heavens. EG can now focus on covering up towards that B site at the heavens and fully stunned. Com gets the
Last
kill,
player
but the last
standing.
two on tree side. The lineup in the front, the protection from Ethan, but it's still Leaf that gets the Red Bull clutch.
From the top of tower to the bottom of B stairs, Leaf makes it happen round after round. And again, they pull it right back, resetting EG's money. One of the hardest ways to play this game. I sound like a broken record, but it really makes it so difficult to keep going back and forth in these situations. And it's coming down to these tight kills, 2v1s, 1v1s. Jake absolutely loving it. It seems like he is so comfortable on the stage right now. Cloud9 fans got to be enjoying this roster so far. And we'll see what they have another round. The dart for last round I was talking gave Jogamo and what was a push from BCJ a lot of satellite control. We see him now taking A main. I think Potter had instilled in them we need to take more space to be assertive, but Cloud9 is already on that assertive page.
Leaf's playing the off angle
Oh my
again.
word.
Yes, we get the open into B site, but Leaf was just outside the radius of that recon dart. So now the Satchel to break the crosshair placement, but it's still gonna be Leaf. That's good to react on time. Deniability on the weapon that's left on the ground. Boostio still gets a nice timing though with that Sheriff. Meanwhile, Plant has gone down. Rifle will get picked up by Boostio. Lockdown is also ready. Another pick. We might move a little bit forward, and here might be the play. The call to move forward into the B site potentially as Boostio's now moving up.
Fire in the hole!
Forced out showstopper.
Really?
On the post plan to tap. Try to move forward close. But it connects onto Boostio. Low
Point
HP
blank.
is going to be Zeppa. The tap once again, forcing out of position.
enemy remaining.
Ethan making it a 1 versus 1. Still around for C9. But look at that econ. Finishing up here off that
Last
victory
round
for the
before
attackers.
switch.
A lot of damage there. The rebuys are ready to come through. Just noticing at the end of that round, how often have we seen Rooney alive? He's playing this kind of safe position towards the back, understanding the game. We kind of talked about his switch from really being able to play on that initiator that gives the IGL info, but he is still on the map, figuring things out, giving a little bit of management to what's going on. It has been the clutch and that trade a lot of times, so Rooney has a role to play, and it seems like he is locking it in right now. 8-3 as we have our final round here of the first half. And again, a little bit of a push from EG. It seems Cloud9's always avoiding them. I'm
I've got your
flabbergasted.
trail.
Every site they have chosen has been the opposite of EG's push.
Lee starting things off with Seekers in a flash. Clearing out towards Dish, and C9 once again looking to plow into the A site. Big positioning from the Satchels up from Zeppa. And we are just swarming it in here, trying to play that pulse plan, and already aggressive enough so they could actually try to push it if they want to break the lockdown. C9 chooses otherwise. because Utility's going to do the job. And close range at the showstopper out. Still connects. 1 for 1.
Huge
and
trade.
here comes for EG on the retake. 100's Fury out from the spawn as well from Calm. One watch the flank. Jake greeted by BCJ close range. EG coming in with the player advantage. Rooney inside the site. No util left. Fall line up in 1.
Last player standing.
Now stop by Calm. Leaf. Can you
Leaf?
clutch again? Tapping onto the spike, dropping down. Cannot get it done. EG will salvage the last round into the half to make it 4-8 in favor of C9.
Both maps almost ending the same, a 9-3 and 8-4. These teams pressuring each other from both sides. It was EG with the lead last time, but Cloud9 comes out of their first map win. Still with that lead, still with streaks, and really making this a tough half because they would shut down EG before they got going. Really great stuff from Cloud9 to keep the flow.
Well, EG once again falling behind to C9. Can they make the comeback? But first, the desk to break down that first half. GBBB Bren, what have you got to say?
Say that 5 times fast, that's silly. Okay, just try that next time I send it back over to you. But yeah, no, seriously, that Cloud9 looked absolutely stupendous on Fracture as they currently go up 8-4, and heck, it could have been 9-3, it could have been even 10-2, but EG managed to find ways, Mimi, to scrape by some rounds, which is very important going into this next half. Problem is, man, you're running into these brick walls in Leaf and Zeppa.
Yeah, EG found a couple rounds at the end there to make it closer, but I think most of this half was defined by the core of this Cloud9 roster finding insane individual performance. I don't feel like this team was doing anything super crazy. They were keeping most of the calling simple, generally just 4-1 hard side execs, but I feel like that's kind of what you need when you're integrating new players, and it allowed these two to absolutely pop off.
Yeah, and the focal point of this composition as well. You've got Zeppa being that raise, going to be the first one in, but he's being set up to do so by the breach util, and then Leaf's going to be right behind him with usually a flash and something else to play for. And it's, I mean, you just look at the numbers. These guys are putting up an absolutely unbelievable performance that's worthy of so much praise right now because they are leading the charge. I mean, I don't even know what it's probably at right now. They've got to be both over 200 AD.
A lot to a little.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be an insane amount, but they have just absolutely paved the way for a really dominant half. And I put into question the attack side calling and wondering exactly how Rooney was going to be managing that because they did struggle on Pearl, but you can tell why they picked this map. The executes, like you said, Mimi, have been pretty minimized in terms of the complexity of them. It's been easy to just digest for the entire team, and it's putting that focus on those veteran players to pop off.
Now I'm looking towards the second half here, and I'm wondering, what does EG have for us? Because I wasn't really seeing the full reasoning behind this Sova choice. They had a couple things where they would go for like south side crunches with a delayed dart landing. They had that one cool play where they fought forward with that Sova's Hunter's Fury. But I think it's a lot harder to actually get value out of Sova on the attack. You can have darts for executes, but the drone forces you to slow down, default a little bit more.
Really
makes
slow.
those hard executes a little bit tough. So EG is going to have something interesting cooked up here. If not, this series is out of their hands.
Yeah, and look, let's be honest here. 2 rounds of pistol, and the next round, you're right back into it if you're evil geniuses. But for C9, they are right at the precipice of winning their first game. Let's send it back over to your casters, Rivington Vansili, Rivington Vansili, Rivington Vansili.
Thanks, GBB Bren. Back into this game. Yes, the big question mark here for EG. How is this going to pan out here for the attack? But one thing that has been good for EG is these couple of pistol rounds that have come into fruition now that EG takes the attack side. But now for this round, EG looking like a default. Passive here towards the bottom side, top side, leaving arcade open. But C9 has different plans.
No heals to come in there, unless they rotate around for this one. It looks like they might get a few in for Zeppa. You see Leaf coming down. And aggression already. Cloud9 says, nah, we're still on attack right now. I don't know if you knew this, BCJ though!
Well, they were ready for that.
Yeah, we're real ready. Great job, and that has to be the read. Cloud9 did the same thing on Pearl. Why wouldn't they do the same thing here on Fracture? EG tries to make it to the side, but Rooney's there to trade one.
The idea was still pretty good for C9. The Trailblazer looked like it wasn't going to clear the corner, but the positioning was already there. Zeppa was watching that corner. But on low HP, something very hard to do. You had to be on point with that sliver peek. It's actually BCJ and teammates doing their job. Black comes down and talked about those pistol rounds. It's coming in favor and fruition for EG. Zelsis on a 4 versus 1. It's looking grim and doomed here. As Busio is coming to fight in the second half.
Little aim labs, right? Just shoot around onto Zelsis. And we'll see how this one goes. That's the pistol again. Can they stave off Cloud9 from throwing the Thrifty? That's the question. It'd be what, 3 out of 4 pistols in this series that got thriftied so far.
Yeah,
I think
that
the
is true.
first pistol of the first half in our Pearl game was just the one that EG was able to carry. So keep an eye on it as we get into this next round. Cloud9, you can see MC very happy with how things are going now. Those very early timeout calls, they paid off and now are still paying off.
Didn't look too happy on that replay.
Oh boy.
That's right. Once again, it's not looking good for EG, where they could potentially get thrifty one more time. Body already dropped, and that's your duelist for EG. We're booking it back towards the B side on the 2-2 split. High and low from Arcade and Tree. Orbs also being picked up. Heals in coming in for the defenders too. There's only 2 sheriffs at the long range for the retake.
Oh,
Find it for long.
It started as a 5v4 last time too. Post-plant position fully set up.
Okay, so Busio, here's the flash coming in from the flank. Here's a lot of footsteps now. And trying to bait the smoke behind him so he can play towards the front, and he gets pinned in the end. Weapon now dropped. Salvage here. It's a Phantom in the hands of Jake. Trying to get a push out. A shot long range does not work out for BCG. This is not looking good at all. It's a Jordy. It's come by himself.
Standing ahead.
Weapons are all down. Spike looking to be defused at halfway. A flick, the flick, but it's still.
Do it again.
Another 30 from C9.
I think we can point to what the problem is.
Attack is only as good as
Bonus
their
round.
speed.
How do you get? How? So many times. Not even a bonus. They can't make it that far, Vance. Oh my word, Cloud9. The crowd behind them, the momentum behind them. Another thrifty. That's absurd. Holy crap. They are absolutely on fire when it comes to playing the patience and squeezing everything out of their opponent to find the thrifty.
That Ferrari pig by Jogima was greeted by a brick wall.
That's what they said. Brick wall from the desk. It is true. Let's see if they can keep building here.
The issue you're talking about, yes, not winning these anti-ecos for EG. As you saw it on the Pulse plan too, is just players are kind of left on an island. Now, with full classics, gonna have to go back of licking your runes, trying to go back into playing the long game. So default around, work for these orbs. C9 okay with giving it away here for EG, because when it really comes down to these battles, these head-to-heads, C9's really taking the cake so far.
They are. The firepower has been absurd, especially from Rooney, Jake. Not even a letdown from them. We see everything hitting the clutches in mid-round. Working as a team here, EG looking to deathball a bit into sight with maybe a stim. See what ground they can cover. Nice fault line to start off. They get a few off that. Jake still hits. Can they get that Vandal though, Vance?
So far, nope.
Nope.
Leaf is gonna stop them. The right click from behind. But still another weapon on the ground denied from such an aggressive push and retake here. C9 looking really good on the timings to make sure that no window of opportunity is left open here for EG.
Denying the spike plants, no extra money for EG. It is looking clean also, as well with how many C9 members are staying up in these instances. Busio with the ult, you got to consider Cloud9 is thinking about that as well, but how are they going to use it? Maybe a timeout here. Switches it up. You could get what we saw out of Cloud9 and more of a map separation with an ult towards sand instead of insight or towards B underneath pass. But yeah, I think we're getting a much different game than everyone expected.
Oh yeah.
We can throw that out there. But I don't think Cloud9 themselves kind of ever doubted the situation, right? Feels like they got their roles in place. No more issues there, but honestly, they came to vibe, and the pressure wasn't on them. The pressure was on EG, and I think Cloud9 just started to play their game. It sounds redundant, but they are going in and fragging. The desk said they're keeping it simple, right? KISS. Keep it simple, Stu. That's what works.
I'll have to admit, I'll be one of those doubters that doubted C9 coming into this one. After seeing EG getting their first international victory at lock-in in Brazil. Coming into this one, new comms, so Euro that looks pretty good on Pearl, coming out with a Gecko. Oh, they came in prepared, but then it's just C9 playing it just basics, and it's working out from the sheer firepower that we have. So I know there's a lot of people that are supporting C9 outside here despite these roster changes, and I think they're hearing it on that stage. The players are hearing it to make sure that they continue this lead and close this series with 2 maps.
And again, this is kind of a take it back in the history composition for C9. We see Zeppa back on that Raze, right? Zalsis back on that Killjoy from his V1 days, as we were talking about in the beginning, and it doesn't seem like anything has really changed for them. It really helps to actually accent the rest of the team.
Calling my bot.
That's what we're talking about there. The turret set up, the ropes over, a 5-player head now towards the A site. Seekers just to try to slow down for a bit, but this is still an open site for EG to plant. And it's Ka moving in forward, passing it over to Ethan for the plant. So it could be one way from getting a Rolling Thunder right after. But C9 just wants to fight right away. As the spike gets planted, already 2 players have been dropped for EG. Make that even 3. And then the transfer from Wallbang onto Jogimo. Ethan, heroic efforts, but stopped right away, as we had no time to set up here for EG on a post plant.
Exactly. That Cloud9 speed once again coming in with multiple frags, expecting to have a little bit of utility to delay. There is no delay for C9 right now. I think they'd walk right through a Sage slow at this point with how fast they're just going forward. Nothing is deterring this team. 11-5, the crowd behind them, even more so here as they come up on the final points of this series and may be able to take it in 2 maps here, with Fracture being their pick and stealing away Pearl. From the side of Evil Geniuses, Jake there on your screen having one hell of a game for himself on the brim. A lot of assists there to be helping the team out, and as well as clutch rounds we've seen him grab.
Scout destroyed.
Timeouts don't even look like they're working so far for EG. Not even on this moment. Already? Look at the stop, the push forward, orbital strike then on the defenders, but a double flank coming in. Funnily now pinching EG, forcing him to drop here towards the A site. Jake waiting, but Jogmo drops on the ground and kills him as soon as he lands.
Are they playing deathmatch? They're literally just holding W here and instantly finding players around the corners, double clears for each other, so you don't have to second guess what you're looking at. Orchestrated so well here by C9. Again, EG's left in a scattered post plant, but they waited this one out. Numbers up now, and they should be able to find out what's going on.
We've seen Rooney before in these situations, not only IGL, but could potentially be one of those good IGL fraggers that we've been praising so far on the international stage. So far as dropping one has a showstopper, not a showstopper, a Rolling Thunder. But as it goes for the bait on the tap, Ethan swings out, and EG put one on the board finally.
Incredibly needed, especially in the terms of economy there. It's still so hard for them to actually get a full buy-in. Yeah. See guns being traded around here, but there's ultimates to be used on this round. It's up to really a big point on Rooney, where that Rolling Thunder is going to be for the retake, because we may see an all-out from Evil Geniuses on this one. It seems like they have been a little bit slower trying to use the initiator util. That in motion, Leaf can throw. People can run behind. You know, Rooney can be throwing flashes where you're setting up for a dart, you're waiting for a drone. It's Cloud9 is using that time to already formulate a plan. So it's almost like EG just has to act a little bit faster here. C9 already on their back fans.
EG doing good. Recon dart to clear out towards the arcade. Seekers as 2 more players once again run behind it, and that is going to be that deadly duo, Zeppa and Leaf. Jake holding up towards the B-side heaven, and Celsius is spraying through the smoke, denying the push coming up from the arcade. Lockdown still available, 3 ults available for the remaining 3 players of EG, as the lockdown looks to get put at least, but it gets stopped. Looking for an opportunity potentially to punish C9. They're trying to go aggressive, but C9 plays the protocol, plays the patience.
Zeppa as well, with the help of Leaf down at B stairs, grabs the showstopper ultimate if they need it, and there's the Rolling Thunder we were looking for.
And then the showstopper by Com! Gets there with help from Lucio! And the 2 players comes in for the save! How do you get 2 kills while you're stunned by a Rolling Thunder?
I don't know, but it takes a lot for these rounds to start going in the favor of EG. The fact that it happened that way
No
I'd say some
way.
saving graces here on the stun.
My
Cloud9
God.
being switched up there, and EG again. C9, they're setting a bit of the pace, but EG was able to match it a little bit more. Zeppa, even with the ultimate, wasn't able to pick up enough, and EG finds 7 now, 2 in a row. They've not been able to string too many rounds together throughout this map.
Yeah.
And here, maybe turning a different leaf. We'll see what they can do in round 19.
These are the type of swings that you're looking for here for EG. When nothing's working, fundamentally, at least you got heroic plays. They're hoping to do the same thing this time, and it's off.
Okay.
The orbital strike, Joggle pushing forward.
Yes!
Lore buy that we have in for C9 at least, looking for the econ damage. BCJ at 1 HP. If EG can get this one and have all 5 alive for the falls, it's still looking pretty good to continue this momentum. But it's Zelsis hiding inside the smoke.
That's a tough one.
I mean, it's, yeah, it's definitely a tough one, but it's still, you can still see the reactionary shots. If it was a Sheriff that was a headshot, it was a death already. But Jake, speaking of devil with the Sheriff himself, spotting BCJ, and there's that flawless.
Yep.
Economy coming up now for EG. Slowly fighting back here in the second half.
I love it. The fault lines came through, from the side of Cloud9, and EG didn't wait, right?
Yep.
They didn't wait. They didn't drone. They didn't try to bolt in and wait for the bolt. They went to fight, knowing it was pistols. It's almost like Cloud9 has been fighting like that every round. Whether guns are on the side of EG or not, they are swinging like there's always pistols together. EG delivering a little bit of that medicine back to Cloud9 in A Halls there on that last round. We'll see if they keep that pressure, that momentum. Still so many ultimates to be used here on the EG side. They can string together some pretty well-formulated rounds as they start with pressure here on A, just to see what they can get out. A touch and go.
Allowing here Jogimo to push forward. We saw the assist coming out from the flash. Or being picked up by BCJ. Showstopper available. Still have the Hunter's Fury. Lockdown that we thought was going to be used at some point on that 5v2 earlier on. Busio still has it into this round here. Cutting noise. Aldron will not be heard overall by C9. Which still allows here EG to scale up towards this split that they're planning.
All right.
Initiated.
This is the lockdown round. Plant can be posted. Oh, double lockdown coming out.
And that's the Hunter's Fury to stop it. Now we have to move in from the attackers into this B site.
Through the arcade lane, up into sight.
With 2 players detained, should be looking like an easy plant now. Is still trying to decide where to go here. Finally, it's going to be planted safely towards long. As smokes
Plant again.
out here for the
30
plant.
seconds left.
Be a 5 versus 5 retake.
The spice.
Connects
trades.
here with the showstopper from Jogimo. Head-to-head against Zelsis. Paint shells it into the front at the canteen. Jake looking to flank around with the assist from the flash coming out from Lee. A 2 versus 2. Calm long-range shock darts available, but looking to fight 1v1 in the front against Leaf. The tap once again after the spike. Busio comes in from the heavens. Leaf now on a 2 versus 1. Breaks the turret onto another tap. Picks up a full gun. Phantom coming in. Now with that shot, we know that Leaf's not on that plant. Busio low on HP.
Great
Well
piece.
done for EG towards the end.
Whoa, these are some bloody rounds here with everyone going down. This is going to start favoring EG. What's that money look like? Finally! They were able to do quite a bit of damage to C9's economy after the way this half was going. And what a retake here. Patience pays off. Really nicely done by EG. The post plants have been getting a little scary, but I think they've been able to slow it down once they get that site, once they figure it out. More utility stopping Cloud9 in during the plants. I think a big focus has been put on that by EG too. Not utility into site plant, it's use a bit of util to gain the space, use util on where they're entering while planting. So a 2-step process there we see, as the desk would say too, that EG has to put things together.
Big kill to start towards tree.
Placing alarm
Attempt
box.
of a trap play that we saw towards Sands with a turret forwardly advanced. That could potentially allow a flash and a swing out from these stingers that we have. Zelsis is fully blinded. Emptying the clip.
Yeah.
EG deciding to fall back towards B.
See if they can convert this 5v4. Rolling Thunder is there from Ethan if they decide to go canteen to spawn. Looks like he's actually set up just for a flash around
Wait
the
on the
corner.
top. Okay, stopped by BCJ after all, but Rooney!
Oh!
Was that through smokes? It was through smokes. BCJ and Ethan falls. 2v2 now in. And look at that, EG giving so much respect. We're like, okay, let's go back towards A. But that's where Rooney's rotating towards too.
Rooney having ridiculous impact this game. What, 14, 15, 14 is his score?
This timing.
So much.
He's gonna hear it coming. One body shot. And he gets it! A floor kill for Rooney! Welcome to the big stage!
Match point.
Incredible. Getting the crowd riled up.
I told you, man. This guy's a sheriff demon. Kind of call it a deagle demon sometimes. I think in this game we're gonna have to call it a sheriff shaman or something. That was some magic that got done.
It's always a pleasure to get the unexpected when you're casting, but especially from the new players on the squad. Lighting things up here on the VCT Americas stage. Rooney has put himself on a list of people to watch. We'll see here. Jogamo trying to gain entrance into the site. It's going to be a slow retake from Cloud9 as they set things up. Rooney, however, starts it on Boostio.
This might be over right here. Com doesn't want to go down without a fight, though. Answering back with 2 kills of his own, making it a 3 versus 3. Spike has made its way into the A site, and BCJ's finally starting that plan, looking to be denied by Paint Shells moving in. It gets done safely as BCJ down to 30 HP. Molly to deny towards the push from spawn, but Zeppa is looking for the heroic play. While Zessus rotated up towards the heavens. Zelsis gets the wall bang. 2 versus 2. It's not planted here for EG. This could get dangerous right now. Finally outside from the A main. Shark dart onto the ground. Will the second one land? It will not.
Wait!
This will not work either. We get the full defuse. And just like that, C9 wins the series versus the Evil Geniuses.
And it looks like a day at the office. Oh, unexpected win. Oh my gosh. Zelsis to the 2 new members, Jake and Rooney, right on the screen there. Playing on his flanks. You see the other side, Zeppa and Leaf. You can see they integrate those players into the team, surrounded by the veterans, surrounded by experience. Rooney, in his career, always finding a hard push in that tier 2 scene, but never finding a finals, never finding that next stage. Here on the VCT Americas stage, he shows up.
Seems like this team for Cloud9 has all the ingredients needed, a great formula to be just where they left off. A top contender here in the VCT's Americas, and it's with the help from the coaching staff too. MCE, Cupid, the amount of time that you had left to prepare this team into your opening game on the VCT stage here in the Americas with 2 new players with big shoes to fill. Overshadowed, stepping into the light as we mentioned before, and they put up a great performance here against EG, who did look prepared.
They looked prepared. They did, but it did not seem like Cloud9 was really affected by how many swaps they put in, losing 2 core members to bring in 2 new members. At lock-in, Cloud9 had a 44% eco round win rate. That's ridiculous. With new members on the team, this series they bumped that to 50%. Like how can you stop that? When you're supposed to be taking round after round and you get snuffed by this team that figures out how to just pull the most out of you in a round you should win and turn it around. That's tough to play against. It gets in your mental. And the timeouts that MCE called here to get the victory for Cloud9 cannot be understated.
Just another day in the office. It doesn't matter if you're playing in the tier 2 scene. It doesn't matter if you're playing in collegiate. It doesn't matter if you've been grinding challengers and never made it into the Challengers League. Moving into the Americas, you're still putting a top dog performance here from Jake and from Rooney. So well done to those 2 players. Going to be welcomed by open arms here by the community, by the players, and by the fans of Cloud9.
incredible stuff coming out of both teams. I think it's always good in this week to see maybe such a drastic play on both sides, right? Teams know what to fix, and we know what to look at maybe for our player of the match. So let's get that up there. What are you thinking? Who are you feeling? There was actually a lot of sick play going on the whole time. Vans, I'm putting you on the spot here.
Well, I mean, you have choices between Zeppa, Leaf, and Jake, but for me, it's probably going to have to be Zelsis. We are Zelsis over here, right? So a bit of a shout out from him. Did a great job breaking down the wingman, allowing C9 to do a lot for Pearl. But of course, you're going to have to scan that code and vote between these three. If I'm going to have to pick a second one, probably Jake. But we'll give you time to scan the code, the QR code, to vote on Twitter right here. And we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll have the opportunity for the analyst desk to break down this series. We'll see you right after that.
Welcome back, everyone, to the VCT Americas. I am standing here with Zelsis repping Cloud9 after a phenomenal 2-0 victory over Evil Geniuses. And Zelsis, I know emotions are running high right now, and deservingly so. How good does it feel to not only walk away with the win, but to do so proving all the doubters wrong in front of your home crowd?
Man, screw the doubters, first of all. Second of all, I don't really care what any of y'all think. We came out here to play. The rookies played great. Screw y'all's expectations as well. I don't really care about that either. But playing here feels like a dream. You know, I grew up watching LCS, and now I get to play here as well, so it feels good.
And the way that you proved the doubters wrong was so impressive, starting with Pearl. Y'all start down 9-3 in that first half. They win the first pistol on that second half, and then you win that Thrifty, and then it was GG from there.
Yeah, I mean, their comp was like kind of weird. It was our first time playing it, so I don't know. They like played really well. They played off their util really well. We didn't really capitalize on our attack, but our defense was super smooth. I mean, that showed with like their comp. They tried to rely on it. Didn't work out. We had an eco round that like really pulled back for us. I think Dylan, Rooney had really good share of shots. And I think we just kind of played together and kept composure.
Yeah, what is going on with those eco rounds? Because y'all had 4 in this series alone, but even all the way back in lock-in, you had an impressive number of eco rounds that you were able to convert. So what do you think makes it so that this roster is able to do so well with those?
Well, I would say for our past roster, we just have like, I think it kind of comes back to like fundamentals on like using utility on those eco rounds with like packing and stuff. But I think with this roster, you're going to see a lot of Rooney sheriffs, and you're going to see a lot of like trick plays like that. So I think it's like just a little bit of two different things, but I think our utility, it comes down to like our utility usage together.
And speaking of Rooney and Jake, you have had almost no time practicing with them. I think it's only been a couple of weeks, and yet the synergy that we were able to see on stage today for these new players, I mean, you've had that experience before with the debut match, being on a massive stage in front of a live audience. That is not an easy thing to do. What do you think has made it so that you're able to gel together with such little practice?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, shout out the rookies. Like, they played really well. They kept good composure. They calmed everything. They played well together. Didn't let the jitters get to them. But I think it comes down to, like, we hang out, like, all day, every day together. We, like, play ranked together. We just, like, we mess around with each other. You know, it's just kind of like a family bond thing, I guess. And I want that for my teams and stuff. So, and they've been grinding really hard. Everyone's been grinding really hard. So I think it's just that.
Well, it's great to see that grinding pay off here into fruition. Congratulations once again, Zelsis, on that 2-0 victory over Evil Geniuses. Golden Boy, back to you.
Thank you so much, Smix, for that. And of course, always great to hear from Zelsis there saying, you know, screw the doubters, I don't care. And as one of those doubters, I'm more than okay eating my words.
Listen, screw the doubters. I agree with Zelsis.
You drew Cloud9.
Through and through. You can't even see it properly. I drew a clown. I was really pleased, but we didn't get to show it in the pre-show.
That's true.
But I predicted them. But also,
He actually just drew this before
it showed. No, I didn't. That's
He's
a lie.
lying.
That's actually a lie. I did predict them. But.
Well, you know what, though? The one thing that Smix was harping on in that interview, and interesting answer from Zelsis, was about the ecos. ecos, right? They were winning a lot of those. And it was interesting to hear Celsius say like, oh yeah, we were good with it in one roster and this roster, we're good with it too. And, you know, it just so happens it's like a thing that they figured out no matter who's on the team.
Yeah, they were really good at those eco rounds, but also they were just consistently solid across this match. Looking back at Fracture as a whole, I felt like so much of this game was just like really strong coordination and fundamentals from Cloud9, much more than I expected. But who was really leading the charge was the duo who has been with this team for so long. Leaf and Zeppa continuing to absolutely pop off in both halves of that game.
Yeah, I mean, it was just pure domination from those guys as well. There was an attempt of a comeback there by EG. They were almost really just steadily bringing that one back. And you could see some implementations, like Commer's leading the score lines, at least for his own team there. And you could sort of see the idea behind the Sova. It's a very unusual pick. Even, you know, Zelsis was talking about it in a post-match interview. Like, they had some interesting ideas regarding it.
These ecos,
but yeah, I mean, the eco rounds were the thing that really honestly tied this one up. The fact that they were able to convert so many of them, which I believe Zelsis attributed it to, like, the fundamentals, but also the utility usage. I think it was mainly just the fundamentals, like being able to play off each other and trade off each other so damn well. Like, they were mitigating any sort of gun advantage over and over again.
Yeah, they really were. And I think as well, it wasn't just the ability to pull out those eco rounds, but to kind of build momentum off of it. It happened in both maps where they found that one round that kind of acted as the catalyst to continue that momentum all the way through. And EG is continuing to show this issue that we've seen from them in the past, where once things start to slip away from them, once their kind of initial game plan fails, they really struggle at finding that new idea. It was especially prevalent on map number 1, but I think to an extent here as well on Fracture, we did see some of that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to boil down to experience, time on the stage. Like, I do want to kind of give that lean over to Leaf and Zep.
But the thing is, how long are we going to say that is the question, right? Because that has been the story of EG for quite a while.
That's true.
And I think that closing out games is a serious issue for the squad right now that they really have to start to reckon with, because it's a 9-week season. They have plenty of time to improve, but we still need to see that improvement.
Oh, I do not disagree with you on that one, Mimi, because you're 100% correct. And also, you're going to want to see more continual improvement as well. On the other side, for C9, most notably from Jake and Rooney, because these two guys are coming into this one with a lot of hype now. Everyone's losing their mind over Jake and Rooney, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. The road is still going to be long and difficult for this team, Brent.
I think that they didn't flop on the big stage is a massive, massive point as well that we need to kind of just highlight with these guys.
For sure.
Well, sing the praises a little bit of them, because, you know, this is a new environment for both of them. Rooney and Jake, these guys, you can see from their reactions how much it means to them. I think getting a first win like this big hurdle that you can get over, really does bode well, I think. It takes a big weight off their shoulders. If you end up losing this opening matchup, I've seen it before where it does spiral, I think, for new players who are new to this kind of environment and this level of competition, and they can't quite find, you know, their footing at the end of the day. But you get that first win with the help of your team as well. You can continue to build that structure.
Yeah.
MC can continue to develop you as talented, you know, teammates as well and individuals. And who knows, you know, Cloud9 might be punching for a bit more than maybe that mid-table finish that people were really thinking was a bit generous to give them as well when we were hearing about these signings and changes.
Yeah, and I think we really hyped up going into this how different the changes and how much pressure was going to be on those guys. But at the end of the day, if your teammates are keeping you calm, if your coach is keeping you calm, if you are in an environment where you feel happy, where you feel comfortable in playing the game to your best,
where you feel
can
enabled.
Perform on any stage. You can perform in front of a massive audience or at home on your bedroom. And I think we saw that from these two players. They had a slow first half on Pearl, but once they got into the flow, we saw what Cloud9 has been prepping. We saw that, hey, just because these are lesser known names doesn't mean they can't perform at this level.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying, when you're here in VCT, you shouldn't be sleeping on anyone, no matter their experience level. I mean, it was even like that for Cowanzine and Tui's in Lock-In, right?
Yeah, most people didn't know them ahead of that event.
Exactly, and here we are. Incredible stuff there across the board, and a massive shout out to Jake and Rooney for a stellar performance. Now, before the break, though, we actually asked you guys to vote for your player of the match, and it seems like we do have the results, and it is going to be Leaf who edges out Zeppa and Jake. But honestly, I agree with this one, because Leaf was on fire, Mimi, all game long.
Yeah, he was absolutely incredible across this one. Back at Lock-In, he was playing the Sentinel, but here he got to kind of flex back to a couple more active roles where the duo of him and Zeppa truly came online. I mean, there was a time when there was like discussions of Leaf being like one of the best players in the world in 2021. And if 2022 was a slower time, he never fell off as an individual.
Yeah, Leaf is such a unique player. He's so willing as well to flex and play different roles as well. Because you notice, like, you know, when we're having a conversation about Leaf being one of the, you know, the best potential players in the Americas, in North America as well, it was mainly centered around a lot of his duelist play. And then since then, he's just kind of like expanded his repertoire in terms of the agents he's playing, and now he can, just bring a lot to the team. We saw it as well from the gameplay. The guy was like usually the second one in, but he wasn't even needing to close any rounds out. He was the finisher from start to finish.
Yeah, and that is when you get a player like that on your team who can go big like that. Well, maybe everyone's going to be clamoring more for Leaf as this, I guess, split continues forward here. But of course, with our second day of VCT games all locked up in the books, let's go ahead and check on our current standings and where we are right now. Not much is really going to change here, but we are going to see who picked up the dubs today. Obviously, Loud got their big win as they took down MIBR in a very competitive matchup. And then, of course, we just saw Cloud9 defeat Evil Geniuses, and a lot of hype for the C9 team right now coming out of that game, but we still have to see what is in store for the boys in blue as we get ready for their next week of play. But yeah, I mean, overall though, Mimi, this has been quite the thrilling day here in the Americas, because we thought we were going to get a stomp with MIBR and Loud. That did not happen. We got a very competitive game, and we also thought that C9 wasn't going to really give us much to talk about, and here we are. We can't stop talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was two incredible games, I think, especially in kind of subverting expectations for MIBR coming out in map number 2, being able to win in their series, and as well for Cloud9 proving the doubters wrong, as Zelsis was talking about. Also, so much innovation today. We got so many Gecko games. We got Wingman.
Went from none to all.
How much did he plant? That guy was popping off today.
He was
best player of the day.
with the plans.
Most efficient objective player of all time. All right, well, guys, our first week is all wrapped up, and tomorrow we have Brand's favorite term, certified bangers on board. Well, just one, because we have NRG taking on Leviathan. You do not want to miss that one. I think that justifies calling a certified banger.
That is a certified banger. You have two teams there that are punching, I think, for a Masters ticket, both of them battling against each other tomorrow. I think that's going to be a must-watch match.
I think that is the match of the week. It is the headliner, so you have to tune into it.
Yeah, no, that's my Monday Night Raw. I can't wait. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for watching. I got a booking because I got to go to WrestleMania. But in any case, so guys, here are your Prime Gaming post-match highlights for the day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Call the car, quick.
All right, I'm going. No lie, I'm actually calling it Uber. Today, 4 teams make their debut and begin the road to champions. Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of VCT Americas. 2 organizations in Brazil that are absolute powerhouses now go toe-to-toe right here on U.S. soil at the Riot Games Arena. It's going to be MIBR taking on Loud, and oh boy, I'm excited for this one.
They've got to get the spike out quick, and Akbas is there to greet them. The spike hits the ground, and so do the rest of MIBR. And he's so screwed. Man, there's nowhere to go, but holy smokes, what a shot from JZZ. But do they overwhelm him? Are they able to hunt him down? Oh my gosh! How?
Just an insane performance from Loud.
The fun thing about watching this Loud team is you see all of their strengths. Knockdown now cleared, utility still littering the map. As RGL does it again.
They could always fall back after this. They're going to jump through it. That is,
That was an idea. Swing around from RGL, and MIBR has managed to walk away with the numbers advantage here. Less left alone.
Nice.
MIBR take us to Haven.
huge win. A very necessary one.
Still numbers in favor of the defensive side. The problem is they're all on the opposite side of the map. They're going to show up in the spike. They already be down. The Flash going to get so much info. He's going to swing around, forget about waiting. He wants to take the fight to their doorstep. And it's the ace for Kawanzin. What value can he find? There's one down. Oh, clean shots out from Sadak. Gunfire erupting back in spawn as the kills get traded back and forth. Miris with two massive ones. That's weak as well. Miris gets 4. 3v2 here. Tui's on the
spamming fast enough. The Cove's up.
He's gotten it to half. He's going to stick it the whole way. Tui's is going to stick it the whole way, and he succeeds. Loud flirt with it, but for now, they reign supreme in Brazil.
And in Americas.
Two fine squads here from North America that are about to go toe-to-toe. Cloud9, Evil Geniuses, teams that can easily find themselves in the conversation to go to Tokyo. The question remains, can they manage to pull it together throughout this split?
EG scaling back, another nice flash, and Zelsis there finally gets 2.
Nice, let's go, baby.
Oh, the
Fully blinded as the high tide comes down. A perfect goal for C9.
What the f are you doing?
But the spike is left. Jet gets 2 kills. Celsius a 3 on the board. C9 taking the first map. 13-11. At least one player towards long and leap. Going long. long range. A 4K into the round. Just tap it away like a team lapse. The lineup in the front, the protection from Ethan, but it's still a Leaf that gets the Red Bull clutch. Two players have been dropped for EG. Make that even 3. And then the transfer from Wallbang onto Jogimo. Nice! So much. He's going to hear it coming. One body shot. And he gets it! And just like that, C9 wins the series versus the Evil Geniuses.